Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. My name's Will. I'm a client success manager here with the Pest Management app. And today we're going to be looking at the Pest Pack and the benefits that bring to your Pest Management app account. So as a quick rundown, the Pest Pack has been created to essentially eliminate the setup that you would otherwise have to do within your Pest Management app account. So our team have gone through, seen what you have needed for your industry and created a really great pack so that when you create your account initially, you can really start using it straight away as soon as you'd like. So the Pest Pack includes a whole library of resources that are relevant to your industry. So things like chemical SDSs and those types of documents, all in your account and ready to go. And we've also created a full suite of pest and termite reports, ranging from pre-purchase termite, timber pest, right through to your general pest service reports. So you'll have a full access to a full suite of reports that are relevant to your industry for all of those different types of services you might provide. We've also created lots of different automated communications that we'll be sending out in the background of your jobs, reminding your clients and your team of those upcoming services that you may have. But the best thing is that this pack is available in your account, but you can also customize it however you'd like. So if you were wanting to add more resources or edit the forms that we've created, or do things like change the communications that are sending out in the background, you have the flexibility to do all of that and to customize anything that we've created. But today we're going to spend a little bit of time going through those things that we have built for you so that you can see the value that that Pest Pack can bring to your account. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the pest management reports that we have created, and we're going to use a timber pest inspection report as an example, just so that you can see what that report looks and feels like. As a quick rundown, all of the reports that we've created, there's 20 to 30 that you'll have access to straight away. They're all compliant, they're all to the Australian standards, and they all follow a fairly similar flow in terms of the way that they look and feel, just to add some consistency there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to share that screen with you now, and we'll go through firstly what one of the PDF copies looks like that your clients are going to receive. So this and each of your different reports comes with a really nice front cover, which can often be a really good way to start this report off rather than jumping straight into the report information. So here you can see it's actually bringing in a photo of the client's property. And when you're filling this report out on site, it's going to actually ask you if you want to take a photo there and then, or if you want to upload one that you may have already taken. So selecting one from your camera roll or from your photo library. But that photo that you select or take there will automatically push straight into the front cover here. And straight away, when that client receives that, it's a nice personalized report that is specific to them. They know it's not just some general report that you're sending to everyone. So often that's a really nice way to start the report off, especially from the client's point of view. Scrolling down, you'll also have your logo, and this whole report's going to be branded for your business. So your logo, your company colors, you've got the title of the report there, and it's also going to bring in the site address that has been selected within the report as well when you filled that one out. So a really nice way to start this report off before jumping into the rest of the report content. Once again, this header is all going to be branded for you and your business too. But this first page is all about a color-coded contents page. So each section of the report is a different color, and it just makes it a lot easier to navigate when you've got a contents page and you can see which section is which. So once again, that's the second page for the PDF that the client's going to receive. And then we get down to all of the client's details. So things like their name, address, phone number, and email address. Two things that you should know about this section of the report and following through the rest of the report as well. There are two different colors of text here. So you can see their client name and client address. That is black text, whereas you've also got some gray text here. So that's just an easy way to differentiate between what is specific to the client, what you have actually entered into the report, so things like client name and address, and then the gray text is just showing you that that is general report text. So it's not something that you're changing each time. It's not, it's just there as report text ready for the client to read. It will automatically be in the report for both you and the client. So just, yeah, easy to differentiate between the client details, the inspection details, and the general report text. Scrolling through, we get to about the agreement that was signed before the inspection. Now, we have actually created all of those agreements for you too, for gaining that signature and approval before the inspection is due to be done. We have actually created a really cool feature that's included within the Pest Pack as well, called web forms, which works perfectly for this agreement process. So basically, the way that that works is you can pre-populate a form as you normally would, filling out all of the agreement details. But when you save that form or agreement, it's actually going to give you access to a link which you can then send straight to the client. They receive that link. It might be on their laptop, it may be on their mobile device, but they can click on the link. It opens up the form on their own device. They can see everything that you have typed into that agreement, and they're actually able to sign on screen. There may be a few other questions that's asked of them, like their name and the date. But as soon as they submit that, firstly, it all pushes back into your Formatize account so that you have access to it from there. But it can also automatically send a copy of the PDF to both you and the clients, so that firstly, you know that it's been agreed to and it's all been signed, and you don't have to send a copy to the client because it will automatically do that for you. But that agreement process is just made so easy through the agreements and the web forms feature that we've created. Rather than maybe using a paper copy of that agreement, you having to scan it, send it through to the client. They have to then print it, sign on a bit of paper, scan it, and send it back to you. So it just eliminates that whole process and makes for a really easy agreement process to gain that client signature before the inspection is done. So this section is purely just about the agreement that has been signed before this inspection was due to be done. We then get to an inspection summary, which is really nicely color-coded so that you can see pretty clearly whether it's a positive or negative response to what's being said. But the best part about this is that as you're filling out this report, you're not having to touch this section at all. So you'll see these questions as we go through the rest of the report. And as you answer them, it's actually going to pre-populate this summary for you. So just a really nice way for the client to start things off once again, rather than jumping into all of the detailed inspection information. They've got a nice summary of the findings, what's positive, what's negative. So in some way they know what areas may need a little bit more focus as well. But just once again, another nice way to start this report off. About the property inspected. So all of these types of questions are going to be multiple choice questions, just to make it really quick and easy for you to fill this one out while you're on site. So all of these ones will be drop-down lists. You click on the drop-down list and select the option that's relevant in this case. So here you've got options like site topography, type of structure, height of structure, wall construction, and floor type. They will be checklists where you can check as many different options as you're needing to if there are multiple different types of flooring, as an example. But those multiple choice questions just make it really quick and easy to go through and quickly fill out this section of the report. Areas we were unable to inspect and why. So the reports are also going to try and be as smart as possible for you when you're filling it out. And we will look at a little bit later about what it's going to look like to fill out one of these reports. But if you were to select no to a question like this, asking were there any obstructions, it's not going to show any of these other questions just because they're not relevant in the report at all. But if you select yes, it's going to ask you quite a few more questions about why that is or where those areas were. So that way you're not skipping over all of these questions that aren't necessarily relevant in this case. It's only going to show them when they become relevant in the report. But this is what it looks like on the client's end. You can see the different areas that have been selected as hindered access areas, what the obstructions were, and those types of details. And then being able to take photos within those as well. And you can take as many photos as you're needing to, being able to comment on those photos that you're taking too. So just really clear for that client to see. They can see that there were obstructions, where those obstructions were, in each of those areas what the obstructions were, and then having photo evidence of that as well. So it doesn't get much clearer than that. That's what these reports are designed to do, because at the end of the day, your client is the one that needs to know what's going on in their property. So it's important that these reports are clear, they're concise, and it's just giving them all of the information that they're needing. So some more photos there. We'll skip down to the next section. This is high risk areas and those details. And we get to the findings and observations. So things like, were live termites found at the time of the inspection? So once again, using those colored buttons, which when you're filling it out, really easy, just clicking yes or no or not applicable. But yeah, once again, really clear for the client when they receive this PDF. Yes, it's red, it's obviously negative. So live termites were found at the time of the inspection. And then commenting on things like the species and where they were found. Same thing with termite nests and termite damage, being able to make comments on those areas there. Durable notice details, wood borers, seeing as this is a timber pest inspection report, so termites and other timber pests. And further evidence and spaces for additional comments throughout the report as well. We then get down to the conducive conditions to timber pest attack. So commenting on things like water leaks, water tanks, a lot of the different conducive conditions you'll come across are already in here ready to go. And you'll be able to comment on those and say whether that condition was met or not, or if it was adequate or inadequate, depending on the conducive condition you're dealing with. But as we scroll through right down the bottom of this section, you've got things like ventilation, mold, external exposed timbers, and right down the bottom, you do have the option to add other conducive conditions as well and be able to take photos of those, comment on those once again. So really clear for the client to see what's going on within the inspection. Skipping down to the next part, you then have all of the terms and conditions which are designed to cover you. So this will automatically push into the report for you. You don't have to do anything with this, but it will ask you if you want to see them when filling out the form. But as a default, it's all closed up so that you don't have to scroll through all of this text all the time. And right down the bottom, we get to the contact the inspector section with all of your details. So it'll automatically bring in things like your name, license numbers. So you won't have to touch this section at all. And you're able to sign on screen or use your signature stamp, which makes it neat and consistent each time as well. And then client acknowledgement of the report right at the end. So that is what one of those PDF copies looks like for the client to receive once you have completed the inspection and sent it off to them. So once again, a really nice professional looking report, and there's lots of automation that can happen in the background of reports like this as well. You might have it so that as soon as this is submitted, it automatically sends a copy of this report straight to the client. So before you've even left the driveway of the property, this client has received a really detailed report with all of the details that you've entered into it, and you can move straight on to your next job. You don't have to go back home or to the office and go through it, fill it out at home from memory or from the notes that you've written. You can do this on site and the client can receive it as soon as it's done. So that's a report. We will look at filling out one of these reports a little bit later in the webinar. But what we're going to do now is we're actually going to jump into the web portal, and we're going to look at the library of resources that I was speaking about earlier. So let's jump there now. And if you may or may not know this, but there are two sides to your pest management app account. Of course, a lot of the on-site work will often be done from a mobile device, like a phone or a tablet. And that gives you really easy access to things that you're needing. But you do also have the web portal version available on the laptop or computer as well. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to look at the resources library from here. So we'll click on resources up the top and we're going to go to view resources. And this is where you can see every single resource that we have added to the account for you. And you can use resources for lots of different things. You can actually separate them into different folders. So if we go and have a look at the folders that have been set up in this account, you've got things like your swims, you've got your different SDSs, you can have all of your different company documents, registrations. You might have vehicle registrations or your text licenses stored in here. So it's for any of those documents that you may have laying around the office or in the truck, that can all be added to this resources folder here so that it's really easily accessible. But on top of that, you can also add things like expiry dates on all of your resources. So if it is a resource with a time restraint on it, you can say when it expires, and you can have the system automatically notifying you when that is coming up for expiry. And you can see up the top here, you've got a little expiring tab here. So I can see that there is one that has already expired and quite a few that have expired. So that way you can really clearly see what needs to be actioned further. But this is just an example of some of those resources that you'll have in your account, and you can really easily search through all of those and find the ones that you're needing to find. For the technician out on site, they may be using a chemical and the client asks for some more information about it. So they can click into the resources, they swipe across that resource, and they can really quickly and easily email it straight to that client from the mobile device. So once again, just giving really easy access to all of those resources that different people in the business may need. But it also just means that you don't have all of that paper lying around the place. That's replacing all of that and giving you easy access to all of those documents. So that's the resources library. The next thing that we're going to take a look at is all of the automated communications and job type templates that we've created for you. So what we'll do is we're going to jump to the jobs tab now, and we're going to go to job type templates. Essentially, what job type templates is when you're creating a job, you can select one of these job types, and it's going to do quite a bit of automation in the background for you. But essentially, your job types are just going to be a list of the different services that you're providing for your clients. So you can see here, there's quite a list of different services that will be available within your account. Things like you've got your certificates of installations, you've got termite inspections, timber pest inspections. There's a couple of different pages in this account that we've got, residential pest management, commercial pest management. So it's all in there ready to go. And once again, you can edit any of these. You can add to this list if you provide additional services, or if you don't provide them, you can actually delete them by just selecting them on the right-hand side there. Scrolling down, select action, delete, and then just select go. So really easy to remove them if you don't need some of those services. But once again, all of these job types that you're seeing here are set up with automation in the background of them. So we're going to use this timber pest inspection one as an example. Click into timber pest inspection. And there are quite a few tabs running across the top of this screen, but the first one here is job details, where you can specify the title. You can give this one a brief description as well. This description will actually push straight into the job notes if you were to select this job type within a job as well. So that will appear in the job notes if you're wanting it to. You can add things like an average duration to this particular job type, or change the color that it appears as in the scheduler view, so that you can really clearly see, this is red, so it's a timber pest inspection job. So all of them can be color coded too. But scrolling down, one really cool thing that these job types can do for you is when you select this job type within a job, it can actually automatically attach the right reports and agreements that you're needing for that particular type of service. So in this case, if we were to create a job and select the timber pest inspection job type, it would automatically attach the timber pest inspection report and the agreement that we're requiring as well. So that's just going to cut out a lot of that manual work that you need to do when creating a job, so that it's just shortcutting that process and you can get it done really quickly, and you know straight away the right reports are appearing on each job as you're creating them. So that's the job details page. You then have job status updates and future reminders. And this is where all of those automated communications are going to be sitting in the background. So if we click into job status updates, this tab is all about sending communications based on a specific job status. So you can see up in the top left-hand corner, we have created one for you, but you can add as many different job status updates as you'd like. And the first step is to select the type of communication that you want sending out. So this one, as an example, is an email, but you also have options for SMS, a letter being created and ready to be sent, and then a task, which is more designed for internal use. So reminding someone that they then have to do something or tasking something to someone. But this example is an email, and it's set to trigger when you first create this job. But you can see there are quite a few status trigger points there, like when it's assigned to someone to do, or when the job has been completed. So there's lots of flexibility that you can have around when these communications are going to send. But once again, this example, it's an email. It's sending when you first create the job, and it's going to go to the contact's email address. So because when you're creating a job, you're selecting the contact that it's for, it straight away knows who to send that communication to. And then as we scroll down, you can see the communication that is going to be sent out. So this one is just simply saying, hi, it's bringing in the contact name. Thanks for booking this job type with your business name. Our technician will arrive at this time, at this location on this date. And then it's also actually automatically bringing in the web form link. So this can automatically send the agreement as soon as you create the job, which just shortcuts that process even further. And then offering to answer any questions that they may have if they have them as well. So those colored boxes, they are what we call placeholders, and they're just a way of really quickly and easily populating information into this communication so that it's specific to the client that it's being sent to, and not just some general communication that's being sent to everyone, and it's the same for everyone. So that's going to bring in the client's name. It's going to bring in things like the dates and times and the location of the job based on the information that you're entering in when you create the job. So it's really nice and specific with important information for that client that it's being sent to. And to edit something like this is just a text box. So you can type straight into it. So yeah, really you can customize this however you'd like. And if you're wanting to use more of these placeholders, there is a little hint under the text box here saying press Control Space to view placeholder options. So all we would need to do is press Control Space, and you'll see there it brings up the list of all of the different pieces of information you can have populating into this message automatically. So things like the client details or the contact details, different job details, or even your business or sender details as well. So lots of different pieces of information you can have automatically populating in here, but it's just as simple as clicking on the one that you want, and you'll see that it pops straight into the communication there. So this is just one example of a communication that you can have sending out. Another example might be you might want an SMS sending out when the job is completed. It might just say something like, thanks for coming to us for that service. It's now complete. And then you could even do things like link them to Google reviews or Facebook or wherever you do that type of thing. But essentially, as soon as you complete that job, that SMS is going to send out with that communication. So just a really easy way to communicate with the client around the different statuses of the job. If we scroll up to future reminders, this is very similar to job status updates, but the main difference is instead of sending these different communications on a specific job status, like job created or job completed, you can set up a more specific time frame around when it's actually going to send. So we've set up 3 for you in this case, and the first one is set to send 2 days before the due date of that job. So you might have one sending when it's first created, and then another reminder 2 days before, which I think is a really good way to do it. But this one is just giving them a quick reminder that you're scheduled to attend their property on this date and time, and then once again giving them the option to get in touch with you as well. The second one that we've created is if this was maybe a recurring job where you're going back to the same property every year or so, this is an example of what you can do. You could have an email sending out 11 months after that first job was completed. So there's a month before that next job is due to be done. And it's just going to say something along the lines of, we inspected your property at this location on this date last year, and your annual timber pest inspection is now due. So really easy to lock in those future jobs that clients may come to you for. That recurring work is so big in the industry, so it's best to make the most of that when it comes through. So this type of communication, once again, is acting like an automated admin assistant. It's following up not only on the initial job that you're creating, but it can also be following up in a year's time, asking that client to book in again, or just reminding them that you're there ready for that service. So those automated communications can be really, really handy and a massive time saver in that job creation process, both for initially creating the job and for automatically communicating with the client afterwards as well. You do also have this line items tab, which is a way to have this job type automatically creating an invoice for you and having that attached to the job. So in this case, we can go and add a line item, and we might select the timber pest inspection. We might say that normally we charge $600 for that, or something along those lines. And now, if we were to select this job type when creating a job, it's automatically going to create an invoice for us with this line item in there. So once again, just shortcutting that process. You can still edit the invoice if it's different for a particular client, but it just means you're not having to create that invoice at all. The job type selection is going to do that for you. So that's job type templates. What we might do now is we might actually jump into creating a job, and I'll show you the different things that we've just seen happening live while actually creating the job. So what we'll do is we're just going to go up to the little plus button in the top right-hand corner here and create the job this way. But you can see from that menu, there's lots of different quick actions that you've got, and you can quickly create a quote or an invoice or a contact from wherever you are on the web portal. But we'll create the job from here. And what we can do now is the first section on this page is selecting a client. So this is connecting back to the contacts list that you'll have stored in your CRM. So if it is an existing client, you're going to be able to search for them and select them from this list. But it may also be someone that you haven't done work for, which in this case, we'd be able to select add new client and add their details in, and that will save them to the contacts list for next time. In this example, we're just going to select David Pest as an example. And then what you could do, if this was someone like a commercial client, or it might be someone like a real estate agency, they might have multiple different locations that you could be doing work at under their name. So in that case, you can go to location and select the location that is relevant to this particular job. And then that's the client details done. Over in the middle here, you've got schedule visits, where we're able to assign this job to one of our technicians to do. And we're able to select things like the dates and times that that job is going to be done at as well. But that's nice and straightforward. Scrolling down, you've got job details here, and this is where that important job type section is sitting. So if we open up job type, we can see all of those services that we saw previously from that job type templates page. But this is where we select the one that we're going to be completing for this particular client. So we'll go and select timber pest inspection there. And you'll notice down in form progress, down the bottom of the page, it's automatically attached those reports like we said it would. So you're not having to manually do that for every single job that you create. You know that as soon as you select the job type, it's automatically going to attach the right reports for you. And then, like we saw with those communications as well, as soon as we're finished with this job and dispatch it, those automated communications are ready to go in the background. There is this latest notes section here as well for any additional information that that client may have given you. It may be something like information about pets that are going to be on site at the time. It may be preferred access to the property, gate codes, door keys, all of those different pieces of information that are probably good for the technician to know on site. Add straight into latest note, and when that technician opens the job up, they'll see all of those notes that you've added. And then lastly, in the middle of the page here, you do have financials, which is your chance to attach things like a quote or an invoice for you. So with the job type, you can have that automatically creating the invoice. Otherwise, you can just create it from scratch here, or select an existing one that you may have already created for this client as well. But we could just jump straight into new invoice and create the invoice from there as well. Once again, that means for that person out on site completing the job, they have really easy access to that invoice if it's something that you're wanting them to take care of as well. That client may ask for an additional service to be done on site, so you can really easily edit that invoice whenever you're needing to as well. One other thing that is good for you to know about this page when creating the job is this recurring tab here. So if this was a job where you're going to be going to this property every 3 months, every 6 months, every year, you can check this box here and select the interval type. So how often you're going to be doing this same job for this client. So we might use an annual job as an example. So we'll select yearly there. And essentially what you have just told the system to do is create the same job for the same client, same location, this time next year as well. And that's actually going to show up in your scheduler as a different color. So straight away, you're going to be able to see that it's not one that you have manually created, but one that the system has created for you. And that way, you know that it may not happen at that exact time. It may not have been confirmed yet, but that's where those automated communications we were looking at come into play. So if you had that communication sending out 11 months after that first job was completed, it's going to send a month before this next job is due, just reminding the client that that one is upcoming. And then you might also have another communication sending to someone in your team, just maybe a week after that, saying, if you haven't heard from that client, maybe give them a call just to check in and see if they're wanting to go ahead with that service. So those communications are really good for communicating with the clients, but also really good for reminding you and your team of those upcoming jobs and making sure you're making the most of them. But that recurring process just means you're not even having to book those future jobs in. The system's going to do it for you. And then it's also going to automatically follow up with communications on that client as well. Once we've finished filling out all of the details that we're needing to, we can dispatch this job and it's going to send it straight to the technician that we've assigned it to, where they can jump into the app. They can see all of the details that you've given them and they can complete the job when it's time to do that as well. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to jump over to the app and we're going to look at what it looks like from the technician's point of view. So I'm just going to jump into my app now. Okay, so once again, the app is a really great place for the technicians to be able to access the different things in the account that they're needing to. So whether that is jumping in and filling out a report, whether it's accessing those jobs that you've assigned to them, even with accounts, jumping in and seeing previous quotes or invoices for a particular client as well. So the technician on site has access to everything that they need, but you can actually assign different permissions to different people within the account as well. So you may not want or need some people accessing certain parts of the system, and maybe it is invoicing, or maybe it is contact details. So you are able to restrict access through the web portal, selecting what you want each person in the account to be able to access. But this is what the app looks like. So a really clean and simple layout. What we're going to do is we're going to click into the red jobs briefcase icon up the top of the page there. And this is where we can see all of the jobs that have been assigned to this particular user. Running across the top of the page there, you can see the jobs for just that day or for that week. So we might go to the weekly option there, and we can see a job that has been created for this particular user. So lots of things that we can do from this with this job from this page. If we were to swipe towards the left-hand side, you can see quite a few different actions around what we can actually do with this job. So we're able to edit it from the app if we were needing to, being able to reschedule it from this page really easily as well. So that's the actions options on the right-hand side. And on the left, you have really easy options to communicate with this client from here. So being able to quickly call them, SMS, send them a quick email. And that just means that you're not having to leave the Formatize app or the jobs page to do that type of thing. You know that you can do it all from the one place and it's all there ready to go. If it was time to do this job, what we can do is we can actually click into it, and it's going to take us to what's kind of like the job card view. It's giving you all of the information that you're needing. So things like the client name, locations, job notes, due dates, all of those different pieces of information. And you can actually get directions to this job from this page as well. So you have that orange on route button in the bottom left-hand corner there that you can click on. And once again, it just means that you're not having to leave the app to get those directions. You can do it from within the job page. Once again, everything being in the one place for you. You do have a couple of different colored action buttons down the bottom there as well. So you can say when you've arrived. If you were running a little bit late, you can use that late button down the bottom there to quickly communicate with the client and let them know how long you'll be or what the delay is. But just once again, giving you all of those options from within the job rather than leaving the page, having to do it in another app and then coming back to formatize after that. What we'll do is we'll cancel out of this one. And let's say that we've arrived on site and we're ready to do this job for the client. We can click the Start Job button down in the middle of the page there. And you'll see that as soon as you do that, it's going to make available the reports that we're needing for this particular type of job. So you can see right down the bottom, you've got the timber pest inspection report that you can click on. And that is going to open up this report on the app for the person to fill out while they're on site. So this is, if you look back to that PDF that we were looking at before, it's laid out in a very similar way, and you'll see a lot of those different questions that we were seeing within the PDF. But because this report is quite long, it is broken up into different subheaders. So you can just, as an example, click on client details and it opens up that section. And when you're done, you can close it. And that's just so that you're not having to scroll through all of these different questions to get to the section you're needing to find. It's really easy to go through and navigate this report if you are needing to jump between different sections. But if we open up client details, you'll even see in here that a lot of the different client details have already been populated for us. Because this form is attached to the job and we assigned a client to this job, the form already knows who it's for. So it's going to try and be as smart as possible in that way for you as well. There's a question under the client email address here in the middle of the page asking if you want to send a copy of the report to the email address above when you submit this form. So that's an example of some of the automation that can happen in the background of this form. If you were to jump in and select yes to that question, you can go through, you can fill out the report, but when you complete up in the top right-hand corner, that is going to straight away send an email to the client with the PDF of this inspection report attached. So once again, that just means before you've even left the site, the client received this really professional looking document that we saw earlier. But you might also be someone who wants to come back home or come back to the office and look over it first, and that's fine. So in that case, you can just answer that question as no instead. You can jump back into it later, and whenever you are wanting to send it off, just change it back to yes and submit it again. So really easy to get that report to the client whenever you are ready for that to send. Once again, we did try and build these reports on top of multiple choice questions just to make it really quick and easy to fill out. So things like people present on site at the time, you can select as many options as you're needing to. Weather conditions, being able to tick and flick and then move through the rest of the report. What I might do, I might jump to the findings and observations section and just show you a couple of things in there. The first question here, were live termites found at the time of the inspection? So at the moment, you can see because we haven't answered the question, it's only showing additional comments, and then we can kind of move down to the next section. If we were to select no to that question, it's going to do the same thing. We can add comments if we're wanting to, but we don't have to do that. But you'll notice that as soon as we select yes, it's going to open up some new questions that we need to then fill out. So that's what I was talking about before. When we were viewing that PDF, it's only going to show you questions when they become relevant in the form or in the report. And that's just so that you're not having to skip over all of these different questions that you're not necessarily needing for this inspection. They're not relevant to this inspection. So it's going to show you the questions as you need them. This section is actually really cool, especially for training purposes, or if it is someone who might be new to the industry. What you can do is there's a question here asking if you're wanting to view the termite images. So you can select yes, you can choose between the different species that it's showing here and just see a quick photo of what they actually look like to help you identify the species that you have found on site. So really quick and easy to view those termite images, and then you can scroll through and select the ones that were present on site at the time, selecting the areas that you were able to find those different termites as well, and then adding additional details if you're needing to. So once again, it's only going to show those questions if you select that termites were found on site while doing the inspection. But that just makes for a really clear and smooth report. And especially for the client, they're only seeing these details if it's relevant to their property. So that's the same thing with termite nests and termite damage or workings that you found during the inspection. You will find that throughout the report as well, there's lots of different options to take photos as evidence of these different types of things as well. So this is what the report looks like to actually fill it out on site. We went through a lot of the different report options when we were looking at the PDF, so we won't spend too long in here, but this is just acting as a really good example of what the technician is going to see when they're on site. They're able to jump into the job, they're able to start the job, and then this report is just sitting in the job ready to go. So they're not even having to leave the job page at all to go into forms and fill it out from there. They just jump into the job that they're doing and can really easily fill out the report from within the job page. Once this report has been finished, there is actually the red preview button down the bottom of the page there, which just allows the technician to preview the PDF before sending it to the client if they're wanting to check over it first. But otherwise they can just send it straight to the client, or you might have it set up where if you've got admin people that look over these reports as well, it sends a copy to the admin person first for them to look over, and then the admin person can send it off when they're ready. So lots of different actions and workflows that you can go through, but it's flexible. You can customize that however you'd like so that it's moving through the different stages that you want it to. What we'll do is we'll exit out of this form, and we'll go back to the main job page, and you'll also see that you've got all of the invoice details in the middle of the page as well. So that's why attaching the invoice is often really helpful, because you've got access to that invoice through that main job page once again. So you can see the items that have been selected. You can see how much has been paid, or if the whole amount is still owing. That first row of colored buttons there are all action buttons around that invoice. So you've got that green edit button in the middle where, once again, if that client maybe asked for an additional service to be done on site that wasn't originally quoted or invoiced for, you can edit, you can add new items, you can change the item amounts and update that invoice from within the app, or of course you can do that from the web portal as well. You can also view the PDF of the invoice over on the left-hand side there, that red PDF button. And once again, that's just a really good way to check over this invoice first to make sure you're happy with it before sending it off to the client. That will all be automatically branded for you as well with your company logo and all of your details. And then over on the right-hand side, you've got an orange email button there as well, where you can really quickly send this invoice PDF straight to the client that it needs to be sent to. So you've got all of those options within the job page. And then once all of that is complete, you can use that green complete button, which completes the job. That can then trigger some of those automated communications, like maybe sending some feedback or survey links that you might want them to receive. But once that job is completed, the technician can just move straight on to the next job that they have on for that day. So that is the job process. That's what the job page looks like. Once again, within the job card, you've got all of the client details, you've got the location details, dates, times, job notes, but you've also got things like the formatized specialist reports that you're needing for your industry or for that particular service. And you've got all of the invoice details that are related to that particular job as well. So everything that you're needing in the one place, that job ends up being a really nice package of information for the technician with everything that they're needing to know so that they don't have to leave the page or jump between different apps to find that those pieces of information. What I'm going to show you now is we're going to exit out of that job. One other thing that we have set up for you is your submitted forms page. And your submitted forms page is basically going to be where all of those reports that your technicians are filling out are going to be saved and stored. So if you're using paper copies at the moment, you might have some sort of filing cabinet or filing system to store those. Whereas if you're using Formatize for all of those reports, you're going to have really easy access to every single report that has ever been submitted in the account. So you've got that green forms option up in the top left-hand corner of the page there. So you can click in and start filling out a new form from here, but you've also got a couple of tabs running across the top of the page, like saved and submitted. So if we were to click into submitted as an example, this is where you can see every single form that has ever been submitted within the account. So your full history of work is sitting in here ready to go. Under the search bar, at the moment, it's showing all submitted forms, but one thing that is included within this Pest Pack is a bunch of different submitted form folders, which we have created for you, which are just a really easy way to categorize and organize those different types of forms that you might be filling out within the account. So as an example, we could jump into general pest forms and see every single general pest form that we've completed within the account. You might also have a case where a client called up, you did a job for them a few years ago, and they've lost that report that you had initially sent them. So they might call you asking for another copy. What you could do is you could go to the search bar. You can search for their name or for their location, depending on what information you have. And then that's just a way of filtering this information. So it's only going to show you the reports that you've done for that person. And once you find the report that is needing to be sent, you can click into it and check over it first if you're wanting to, or once again, you've got that swipe option where you can preview the PDF, or you can email that report straight to the client from the app if you are needing to. Another really cool thing that you can do with this page is you might be doing a job where you're servicing a bunch of units, and all of the units are pretty similar. So instead of filling out a report for every single one of those units from scratch, you might do the first one and then choose to clone the submitted form, that orange clone button there, which is going to make an exact copy of that submitted form. You've still got the original, so the original isn't going to be touched at all. It's just making an exact copy with the same information. You can choose if it's using the same photos or if you're wanting to take new photos in there. But that can be a really big time saver for, as an example, those units you might be servicing. If you're doing lots and they're going to be fairly similar, use that clone option, and then you can just edit the submitted form rather than having to fill out a whole new report from scratch. But yeah, that submitted form page is kind of acting as a digital filing cabinet, and is going to store every single submitted form that anyone has ever submitted within the account. So that is the app. That's the Pest Pack. That's what we have created for you, and that's what you're going to see when you jump back into your Formatize account if you're wanting to go ahead with this Pest Pack. The Pest Pack with all of those inclusions is an additional $19.99 per month for unlimited use of everything that you've just seen. So it includes those Formatizer or Pest Management App Specialist reports covering the paperwork for your whole industry. It includes that library of resources that we've created with all of your chemical SDSs and all of those different folders. It includes the job type templates, all of that automated communication that can be going out in the background of your job. So all of that, things like an automated admin assistant working for you in the background, sending out those reminders, all of that sitting within that Pest Pack at $19.99 per month. So if you would like to test that Pest Pack, what I'll do, I'll put a few QR codes up on the screen for you to use now. And this is just a way for you to really easily opt into that Pest Pack if you're wanting to have a go of it and use it in your account. You'll also have the option to, if you're new to this and you don't have an account yet, you can sign up for a new Pest Management app account by scanning that QR code, or you can book into it for a demo as well, and our team can show you through the benefits and personalize a session for you as well. So I'll leave that up on the screen for a little while, but I really appreciate your time today. We'd love to answer any questions that you have as well. So if you do have questions, make sure you reach out to us. But once again, appreciate your time today and look forward to helping you through this Pest Pack and getting it customized for you. Thank you.